Well, good evening, Hawkeye fans. The Iowa women's basketball team is back, at least for one night, as they defeat the Washington Huskies by a final count of 85-61. And I'm joined by a familiar face, our own Kachine Alexander. Cash, good to see you.
Hello.
We did not coordinate the matching hats this evening, but I'm happy to say, and yours is everybody, you show off the side. Nobody's seen the side of that hat. Can you show that off real quick? This is a personalized Cash 21 Hawkeye hat. This is not personalized for me. So. Anyways, yeah. Cash, good to see you tonight.
Hi, guys.
So lots of good things to talk about. This was this came out of, I think Jan would probably say it didn't come out of nowhere. She's been preaching that this team has been close for a while. And we're going to talk about what we saw, and then we'll add Kyle Houman, a Hawkeye report, in here in just a minute. Cash, from the get-go, Iowa just couldn't miss. I don't know how else to put this. Raining threes and the efficiency of people like Lucy Olson, who has really struggled from the field. I don't know the last time I've seen a player with 20 points on less than 10 shot attempts. And it's not like she shot a bunch of free throws. How many free throws did she shoot? For the game, Lucy shot no free throws. 20 points on less than 10 shot attempts and no free throws for Lucy Olson. You're not going to see a stat line like that in a while, probably ever. Addison O'Grady was really good with 17 and 4. Taylor McCabe comes in, makes 3 threes. Kylie Feuerbach did her job, made 6 of 8 from the field. The team still turned the ball over too much. A lot of those came late in the game, but 72% from the field. Cash, have you seen or have you been a part of any performance like that against anybody where you shoot 72% for the game from the field?
Maybe. I don't 100% remember, but I think it's really what we needed, honestly speaking. You needed one of those, I'm going to call them fluke games, because nobody shoots 72% all the time. So you needed one of those fluke games where just the basket is as big as the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah, so I exactly what we needed, exactly what the doctor ordered for us. It gave the girls kind of a new sense of confidence, a little bit more excitement now going into practice. Exactly what we needed. Thank the Lord, the basketball gods.
What's the biggest thing besides just the shot making? And that's the thing that stands out when you look at the box score. Obviously, what's the biggest thing that stood out today that you think, you call it kind of a fluke game? And I agree, nobody's going to shoot 72% moving forward. But what did you see that was different today that stood out that is sustainable, that you think is a positive sign heading into their next game?
Energy. I think that they played with a different sense of urgency than I think that we've seen all season. They played well. They shared the ball really well. That's not something we saw, regardless of shot making or not. They shared the ball really well. And so I feel like that helped our offense a lot, mixed with, like I said, the sense of urgency and kind of the energy that they played with from start to finish. I thought was something that we had not seen for a full 40 minutes. Or, well, you know what I mean.
I know. And Nicholas,
even at the end, though, in the bench players, they were still playing hard. So,
isn't that contagious?
It is. Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I also think you'd agree that shot making is contagious, and for those Hawkeye fans out there, if you're watching this show, you watch the game tonight, and you also watch Iowa men's basketball regularly, what do we always talk about with the Iowa men? They give guys, we always talk about scouting reports and whatnot. You give guys that maybe haven't shot the ball real well good looks early, and what happens? They see a couple go down, Cash, and all of a sudden that switch comes on. And then even when you make adjustments, it's hard to gain traction because, hey, these are Big Ten players for a reason. These are Division I players for a reason, and they're hard to stop. And I think we saw that tonight as a team. We saw it for Lucy. We saw it for Taylor. But as a team, you start seeing shots go down, and I don't know that it was anything Washington wasn't doing. I mean, was Washington's defense that bad? I mean, you give up 72% from the field. Were they that bad?
I wouldn't say they were that bad. I did think that we found the open players a lot. Like, that's the key. Defense is one thing, right? Part of defense is kind of just getting in people's face and making them make bad decisions, because you can't guard everything. Like, it's not possible. But I felt like we did a really good job of finding the open player and not kind of rushing things and letting it fall into play how it was supposed to. So I felt like that we did a very good job in that aspect.
Sarah in the chat brings up pace of play. First 3 minutes of the game, Washington was out to, I think, a 5 or 6 point lead. And you start thinking, okay, here comes that defensive lapse that we've seen this time at the start of the game, which we haven't seen as much. Iowa's actually been pretty good in first quarters defensively through much of Big Ten play. But boy, they turned it around. As far as pace, did you notice? I mean, obviously without Hannah Stolke, you're not going to see them run as much, but what did you see differently as it relates to tempo?
I feel like the guards ran more, which was how we were getting certain things. Our offense didn't have to be kind of like, oh, bring it down the court, dribble, and then figure out what was going on. I felt like we kind of transitioned into our offense really, really well. And like I said, I thought the pace in general, energy, urgency, everything took an uptick, which is something that I think we have been talking about on this podcast for a little while now. So it was good to see that be in action.
I'll put you on the spot real quick here early. Is this a turning point?
No.
Way to let people down, Cash. Right on.
Hold on. What I mean by that is I don't say turning points off of one game. I don't. Right. But what I will say is that helps us a way better ending it like that. Because, let's just say we won the game. I'm not even saying it has to be a loss, but even if you won the game, it was in the fashion that we won the game. Does that make sense?
Right.
So, the fashion in which we won, I think, is going to be like a good transition for us. But at the same point in time, that doesn't mean it's a turning point, because you have got to continue to do that. A lot of teams, and I've seen it happen, where they get all excited. Oh my God, we are on a losing streak. And then they didn't do anything that got them out of the losing streak the next game. So as long as they continue pressing whatever they was talking about in practice, or whatever they was harping on, they need to do the same thing and then continue on that road. But I've never been the person like, this is a turning point. Yeah. You ain't getting that out of me.
If we'll win 5 straight, we'll be able to look back and say that was a turning point.
There you go.
I'm asking you to project. Like, do you think
I don't like projecting like that?
You don't like projecting like that? All right. I get it. Now Jan has been, like I said at the outset, Jan has been preaching. We're very close. She said it in the postgame interview with Peacock here just moments ago. She talked about how young they are, how close they've been. And this is a good Washington team. I don't know how much of the Huskies you've watched this year. I don't know that they're a great Washington team. I think they're a decent to good Washington team.
They're 4-3 in the conference. We're 2-6. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And they had to get a win. I mean, no matter who they're faced with, from here on out, they just got to get wins.
Yeah. It does not matter at this point of who is what in the Big Ten. You got to get wins where you could get them.
Yeah.
It does not matter. They were on the first half of the Big Ten, when they have that massive schedule out there of the Big Ten teams, one half and the second half. They was on this half, the winner half. We was on the loser half. So to me, great road win.
and I know this is jumping the gun. Iowa just got this win, and it's too early to even be doing this, but I'll do it anyways. This game next Tuesday against Northwestern, I think it's just monumental. I think it's monumental. It's back in Iowa City. And you said, well, I'm not going to designate this as the turning point because we don't know what's going to happen. But if they go and lose to Northwestern at home,
it wipes out everything you just did.
I agree completely. And I think there's some pressure, but I also think it's an opportunity, more so than pressure. It's
I'm
an
sure
opportunity.
they're excited to get back home. I would be.
Yeah, I think this
especially after a game like that. I'm ready to go home. Let's go. Let me get home. Let's get ourselves ready to go. We got a very beatable team in Northwestern coming to Iowa City. Like, it's an opportunity to get another win in our belt. Yeah, you should be ecstatic.
Folks, we're going to take our calls. We've got Brian. We've got Corey. We've got our phone line open. If you want to call, 515-635-1601, 515-635-1601. But as always, before we get to our callers, we welcome in Kyle Houman of HawkeyeReport.com. Kyle, you texted me a little bit before the game was over and said, hey, this is going to be an easier postgame. We don't have to talk about all the negatives. And not a whole lot of negatives to take away from a 24-point game. And it wasn't even that close. You've heard our initial reaction, our initial takes and cash takes from the get-go. Agree, disagree, and what can you add to just the performance from the Hawks tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think first off, like you guys are kind of saying, Iowa needed this game, and it kind of felt like one that maybe we didn't think it was coming tonight, but it felt like this was going to happen at some point, whether it was Washington or Northwestern or someone else down the road. It felt like this was coming at some point just because of the way how close they've been in some of the losses and, how some of the shots haven't been falling. We've talked at length about, Lucy Olson and some of the struggles she'd been having. And it just felt like kind of some of the things that have been happening in some of these losses that at some point it was going to turn the other way. And tonight was the night. And I give a lot of credit to Iowa because, the way the Oregon game went, it looked like that was going to be the game where they were going to break the losing streak. And then they fall apart in the second half and give up an 11-point lead, only score 49. They scored under 50 for the first time since 2016. Didn't get to come home. They just had to fly right up to Washington and, go into another arena that they've never played in before, a new gym, a new city that some of them played there in the Sweet 16, but new campus to play on with Washington just joining the Big Ten. Against, as you guys were saying, that's a good Washington team. They nearly beat LSU in their Thanksgiving tournament. LSU needed a buzzer beater to win that game. This was a tough spot to be in coming off the way the Oregon loss was. You didn't get to come home. You're out on the West Coast. All the things that kind of led into this game to come out and just, I know they fell out to an early deficit, whatever, 7-2, but to lead by 36 at one point against a good team on the road with kind of all the things that led into it. Just a really impressive performance. And like you guys were kind of saying, you can't really look at 72% from the floor and expect them to do that and maybe again the entire season. That's just an impressive number to put up. But I do think this is one of those that it felt like it was going to come at some point. I didn't think it was going to come tonight. I was worried that Washington was going to win because I do think they're a pretty good team. But this just kind of goes back to what Jan and the rest of the coaching staff and what some of the players are saying. Just they knew how close they were. And they would have loved to get, 3 or 4 wins during that 5-game losing streak. But they knew the work they've been putting in the practice. They knew how close they were. They just needed to clean up a few things. And tonight everything came together. And I'm sure this was a big monkey to get off their back and come back to Iowa City knowing that they're not on a 6-game losing streak.
Did you hear that, Kachine? This is a Washington team that pushed LSU to the brink, and the Tigers needed a buzzer beater to win. Your response?
No response.
I'm just pressing you because you were like, that's an okay. Well, look, the record speaks for itself. They also have.
But who said it was an okay win? I ain't say that.
Their defense, and as we saw, their defense isn't great. Their interior defense tonight was not good, and it hasn't been this year. But their offense is up there with one of the most efficient in the country. They're top 20 in effective field goal percentage. They lead the Big Ten in 3-point percentage. Their two interior players, Eke and Daniels, were both shooting like 70% from around the basket. So they were a good team, very good offensive team. And they played they were averaging 80 points a game over their last 6 Big Ten games. So they were a team that was playing really well offensively. No, I mean, I'm not going to say that they're a top 25 level team, but I mean, it goes down as a quad 1 win on the road, which is something that Iowa really needed. But yeah, I mean, I think there were a lot of really positive things that came out of this. Lucy Olson's obviously the biggest one. I mean, people have been really going in on her the last few games about, the free throw shooting, the missed shots, is she as good as we thought she was going to be? And we had talked about it a little bit through a couple of the other games. I never really felt like she was pressing in terms of taking bad shots. It just, the shots weren't going. She was kind of pressing in terms of even on the shots that were getting good looks. And she got those good looks tonight and did not miss a single one. 4 threes is her best of the season, made all 4 of them. As you were saying in the beginning, I mean, no free throws when she scores 20 points on 8 shots, which is pretty impressive. Had 6 first half assists. Didn't get one in the second half, but 1 turnover, 2 turnovers. But really good to see her get that because it looked there for a while. Is she going to get it back? Because she had a stretch there where she wasn't making a whole lot of shots. So really big game for her to bounce back. Addie O'Grady was good right from the jump early and often. They were getting it to her. Had 12 in the first quarter. Felt a little bit like the Drake game, the way that she started. Taylor McCabe was really good as well, hitting threes. All around just a really good performance. I mean, like I said, they were up 36 at one point. But yeah, I mean, they won the rebounding battle again. The turnovers were up, but it was some of that was later in the game when Washington was pressing, which I thought was a little interesting to bring out the press when you're down 30. Like, would have been something I would have done earlier in the game, but whatever they want to do in that situation, I guess. But yeah, I mean, all around just a really good performance. I think more than anything, this is going to get kind of that pressure of, when you start getting on a losing streak like it's been, and they're on social media, they're reading stuff. They see, longest losing streak since whatever year, first time scoring under 50 since whatever year. That pressure starts to build a little bit, whether they want to say it doesn't or not. So to get this win and get it in the way that they did, like you guys are saying, I don't know that I would necessarily call it a turning point yet, but it could be. It could be the turning point. We could look back and say, that Washington win on the road was the reason that, they won all those games down the stretch.
Hold on a second, Kachine. Why are you acting like what Kyle just said is breaking?
Because you was all like, when I said I wasn't gonna say that.
Nobody was calling it a turning point. A turning point. It's one game. I'm saying, do you think it will be a turning point? That's what my question.
It could be. I would say what I will say is I do think that having Northwestern next, I don't want to disrespect Northwestern in any way. That's not the same Northwestern team from a few years ago that had, Veronica Burton and that really good defense that they had. It to me, getting back to Iowa City and getting to play a team at the bottom of the Big Ten, it does give an opportunity to have a similar performance today. I mean, I don't think they shoot 70%, but to come out and win by, 15, 20 again and have another good performance, I think it'd be a little different if, you beat Washington, now you got to come home and you got to play USC, or you got to come home and you play UCLA. I think getting Northwestern, it would be the same if it was like a Purdue or a Penn State or a Wisconsin. Just getting that game that you should be able to win comfortably to be able to build on this performance. I think that's really important. If they can stack it and get another impressive win, another double-digit win, I think that's how you start to turn things. So I do think the schedule sets up nicely in that way. But no, I mean, yeah, like she was saying, like Kachine was saying, you can't say this is the turning point because it is just one game. And I know you were just asking, but I do think you could look back and say that maybe it was. But yeah, they've got to stack it with a win against Northwestern. And
well, if
they do,
Kyle, the reason I brought it up too is if it's not, then they're done. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
If it's not, like I said earlier, if they go and lose to Northwestern at home Tuesday, it's over.
Yeah, it would have been it would have probably been over. They could have beat Oregon and beat Nebraska, and I think if they lost to Northwestern, it could have been because Northwestern would be a quad 4 loss at home. Yeah, that would be a devastating loss either way. But it's tough because you see the way Iowa played tonight. You've seen how they've played during the losing streak. They've put themselves in a big hole, but there are a lot of games at the end. I know it's at Minnesota. I know it's at Nebraska. I know it's at Michigan. I think all of those are winnable, though. I think all of those are winnable if they play like they did tonight.
It just ain't an easy one.
That's the thing. You probably have to win all of them, but they're all winnable.
You didn't mention USC and UCLA.
We're not mentioning that. Don't play.
No,
I know it's late. I know it's late. And you might need some coffee.
Can I just say something? Because Kyle brought up how LSU needed a buzzer beater to beat this Washington team way back when. It wasn't that long ago that Washington was only down 5 late in the game against UCLA.
No, so, I mean you're right. Maybe I'm being a little unfair to not add.
You're not.
But what I would say is that if they were to pull an upset and beat a USC or beat an Ohio State or beat UCLA, obviously that would change.
Thank you. There you go. That's an upset.
Obviously that would change
not
things.
Winnable.
But when I'm putting together, what do they have to do to make the NCAA tournament? I'm not going to include those games. Obviously, if they pulled an upset there, that would be huge for their tournament chances. But the assumption right now is that you're probably not going to win any of those 3. How can you get to the NCAA tournament? How can you get into the discussion with the other games that are left? And I think they can. I think they can lose those 3 games and still get there. The margin for error is basically gone, but I think they can do it. Of course, if they did, beat USC on the Caitlin Clark celebrate the retirement day, obviously that would be a huge boost, and then that would offer them a little bit more margin of error. But I just don't think when you're talking about what do they have to do to get back into the conversation, I don't think you would lump one of those. And now if they lost to Washington tonight, then you would say, you obviously have to pull an upset somewhere in there. But I don't think they have to.
I just want to be very clear. This is a danger. Now, Brandon Burke can say this all he wants, but that's a dangerous mindset if it ever crept into Iowa. We just watched the men lose at home to what was on paper maybe the worst team in the Big Ten in Minnesota. So I know they're different.
Upsets,
I don't care, Kachine.
It matters.
My point, guess what? My point is, if that's an upset, Brandon says they are not losing to Northwestern. That is a massive.
What's an upset? I'm sorry.
I would be. I mean, we're allowed to have. I mean, the team should not go into Northwestern saying we're going to win this game by 20. We're allowed. I think they beat Northwestern. I think they win by double digits.
In regards to the men, right? Is what I'm saying is you said the Minnesota or whatever the case might be, their worst team and whatever. But they literally just had an upset against Michigan, who's a ranked team on their home court. So they're riding that wave.
1-6. That's not a wave. That's a fart in the water. Okay.
Listen to what I'm saying, though. There are some teams that in that scenario, they get this crazy walk-off win, right? They're feeling themselves. So, they carried that over. I'm not saying it wasn't something that should have happened, but I'm not surprised because I've seen it happen before where teams literally have this one crazy win, like let's say we beat USC, right? That could give us so much confidence that it fuels you for the rest of the time being. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I know that it does. So when they beat Michigan on their home court on the walk-off 3 or half quarter or whatever the heck it was, it kind of fueled them for this game. It ended up happening. The men,
you're basically agreeing with Brandon. They're not losing to Northwestern at home.
I don't think
they do. I mean, but I think. I mean, how many games are there left? If we're really going to talk about, how do they get back in the NCAA tournament conversation? It's not really worth our time to talk about, they're probably going to beat Northwestern. They're probably going to beat Rutgers. They're probably going to beat Wisconsin. They're probably going to lose to USC. They're probably going to lose to UCLA. They're probably going to lose to Ohio State. What are the other games that are very important there? We're talking about 2 ends of the spectrum, the games that they are very much expected to win and the games they're very much expected to lose. What's left in there, the games that can swing it? And I absolutely believe they could lose to Northwestern. That is certainly possible. Northwestern beat Utah earlier in the year.
Northwestern just barely lost to a top 25 Gopher team 2 days ago.
Yes, it's definitely possible. I feel like
Minnesota's a different story in my they're ranked, but I mean if you looked at ESPN's latest bracket projection, Minnesota's like a last 4 team in because what are they? They have 17 wins. 15 of them are quad 3 and quad 4, so they've really beaten up on some bad teams. So that's a different. No, but I mean, for us discussing it right now, we're allowed to say, I think they beat Northwestern by 15. Is Jan Jensen going into the locker room and going, we're beating Northwestern by 15? No, they're going to do this. They're going to break it down and say, this player is very good for Northwestern. This defense that they run is very good.
You made a point earlier, Kyle. Northwestern did beat Utah. Beat this Washington team tonight. So
correct.
I mean, I'm just saying it's a big game. That's all I'm saying. It's a must win. I think we can agree on that. Can we agree on that?
Well, yeah, but I thought it was a must win whether they beat. I thought it was a must-win whether they beat Oregon or Nebraska as well, because of where Northwestern would be a quad 4 loss, comfortably a quad 4 loss at home.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not trying to take away anything what you're saying. I absolutely agree that they could lose to Northwestern. I absolutely agree that they could upset a UCLA or a USC. But for the sake of talking about their NCAA tournament chance, I'm not going to spend half the time talking about those games because we're pretty sure how those games are going to go.
All right. Kyle, anything else? I mean, good stuff, good banter, good back and forth. I know you'll be back on the beat Tuesday. The women actually kind of get a break, which is good because they've, of course, been out west and you're flying a lot of travel in an airplane. Anything that you can think of, maybe you don't plug your own stuff enough. Go plug your website a little bit.
I do think that the break will be helpful for Hannah Stolke, just because it did sound like, again, I still don't know what happened in that game. I still think it was one of those where she got hit and it was well after the fact that, the symptoms started to come in of a concussion, but it sounded like it was a pretty bad one. So for them to have this extended break I would think she would be back by Tuesday. It would probably be a very serious situation if she wasn't. But if they can get her back and get, a game with her before you do have to play at USC, and then UCLA is not far after that, and Ohio State, to get her back into the swing of things after she misses a couple of games, kind of like similar to what we saw with Lucy Olson. She didn't really get afforded that. They came back from Cancun and it was right into some pretty tough games. So to get Hannah back into it against Northwestern before the ranked teams come in, I think that'll be really important. And like you said, you go out west, it's a time change. They played a really tough game at Oregon, had a tough loss, and then got the monkey off their back today. To get back and just kind of get a couple of days to practice, get a couple of days to readjust to the central time zone. I think that's really important, and kind of just be able to reflect on this win and have a chance to let this win wear off. They can enjoy this just maybe a hair longer because of the break. Remember kind of what it's like to play at this level of basketball, and then kind of reset and be ready to go for Northwestern. But no, I don't have anything else. I just think, like I said, I thought this type of game was coming at some point. Like I said, I didn't necessarily think it was going to be tonight, but I mean, just a really impressive game given the circumstances of quick turnaround from the Oregon game, and to be able to come out and beat a solid Washington team and lead by 36 at one point. Really, really good win. And we'll see if they can stack it with a game against Northwestern, and maybe they're not out of it yet. We kind of were getting close to writing them off and maybe talking about WBIT or something like that. But like I said, I think there's still winnable games on the back end. It's just a matter of can they win the majority of them, because there's not a lot of margin for error left.
Kyle Houman, HawkeyeReport.com. You can all check out his post-game coverage and pre-game coverage throughout the next. This is a nice, we talk about just from a rest standpoint. You alluded to that, Kyle, but also just to be able to go into this semi-break with so many positive feelings. You could just see the elation on the faces of these young ladies tonight, and real positive into a very critical stretch where you got to beat Northwestern, and then you have a mammoth opponent coming to Carver on an emotional day where you retire the greatest player to ever play the sport at Iowa in Caitlin Clark. Kyle, we appreciate you being here, sir, and we'll talk to you after Tuesday's game.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Kyle Houman, HawkeyeReport.com. Always enjoy hearing from Kyle as we look forward to our callers. Folks, if you are new to the show, here's how you call in. You can either dial in via StreamYard. The link is in the description of the video on YouTube, or you can call the phone line. It's 515-635-1601, 515-635-1601. And first we'll go to our phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
Hi there, Corey.
Hey.
Hey, my name is Peter, and just want to let you know that I've been a big avid fan of the show for the last couple of years here. You and Cash do a great job, and have a couple questions calling in tonight for the first time. I wanted to start out with asking. I feel like something that a lot of fans don't get a good knowledge of is seeing kind of the behind the scenes of how some of the stuff works with when it comes to traveling and just like the team logistics, we get to see the product that is put out on the court, and that's great. But one thing that I was wondering about a little bit was, why did Hannah not travel with the team at all, given her concussion and everything? Obviously, I know that she wasn't able to play, but I know, for bowl games and stuff, players who are, ruled injured are able to play. And so is it more one of those, student before athlete types of things where she's going to be, around more for classes, or kind of what's the reasoning whereas to she would not have traveled with the team on this particular trip out west?
I know people, Cash, I don't know if you insight in that. I know some people say you're not supposed to fly with a concussion. I looked this up after it got brought up the other day, and it sounds like the risk of flying with a concussion is pretty minimal. So my guess, Peter, and Cash can add to this, is that they very seriously doubted. They were almost assured that she was not going to clear all the protocols necessary before this game tipped off tonight, which of course she did not, because they could have flown her out there, in the last couple of days. They were going to have to get on a plane anyways between Eugene and Seattle. Kachine, anything to add on that as to why she wouldn't have been with the team?
Yeah, they kept her away because when you have a concussion of sorts in that sense, you don't want to be around everything. So the lights, the sound, the everything. So in that case, they just wanted her to rest. If they knew they weren't going to, the whole purpose of the quickest way to get over a concussion is to rest your brain. And if you are traveling, you got to get up and go to practices, even though you're not playing. You got to go do this, you got to do that, you got to go film. All of that stuff is making your brain work more than it needs to work. So my assumption is that they had her stay at home so that she can rest. She ain't going to classes either. So the reason of that being is that she can rest in the dark, resting her brain, not thinking.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I haven't been able to tune into the last couple of shows here, so forgive me if I missed something, but that kind of what I was figuring. I also didn't know if there was some sort of university policies that had to do with injured players flying during the season.
Yeah, that flying concussion thing is, how many times I've flown with a concussion? That's not a thing. It's not. I've gotten a concussion in the game and flown literally right after the game. So that's not it. But the other stuff is because I remember when I came back, I literally was in a dark room. They had me in a dark room, just resting. I didn't go to classes. I didn't do anything because it allows your brain to recover quicker.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's great to know. So my second question was, we're kind of getting to a midpoint in the season here, and given all the expectations that we had coming into the season with, losing Caitlin and having the turnover in coaching with having Jan now taking over the head coaching position, I was wondering if you guys had any sort of thoughts on how Jan is doing at this point in the season. Like, what are some pros that we're seeing from Jan at this point in the season? What are some cons that we're seeing from her as a head coach versus how stuff is operated under Lisa? And I was wondering if you could give some insight into if you thought that she was meeting the expectations or over or underperforming. I know it's kind of hard, given losing one of the best players to ever play the game, but thought I'd get your ideas on that.
Good question. I just thought about this earlier today because there have been a lot of people, Kachine, as wild as it sounds, over the last 3 weeks. I mean, literally, and the social media is a cesspool, as we know, Cash, but there's been literally people on social media who have been saying, fire Jan, and fire Fran.
Fran different. Y'all can say that. He's been there forever.
Yeah, so. Totally different. I'm just saying, how would you – it's a good question from Peter because we haven't looked big picture because we're mid-season. But, I mean, how would you rate what she's done with a young squad given what they lost to this point?
B minus.
B minus. Mm-hmm. Would you tell her that? Would you tell her that if she asked?
Yeah. And I tell her she got to be -1 because what she was working with was difficult. So that's that. I think that it's hard because there's so many moving pieces, man. You've got players who their entire career, they had somebody to look to. Their whole career. Like every one of them on the team had somebody to go to. Meaning if something happened, Caitlin was there to bail them out. If something happened, Kate was there to bail them out. Like now all of a sudden it's like, ha, just kidding. It's you. That's a hard transition for a lot of people. Then on top of that, you got a new head coach that's still trying to figure out her identity and everything kind of in a pot with 5 freshmen who don't know anything. Like, that's not an easy place to be in. Again, like I said, pros is the fact that she keeps a positive attitude. And we already talked about the one con I would say is her substitutions. That's going to be a second. But that's the one thing that I would definitely 100% say is her substitutions and her ability to understand the flow of the game while thinking about everything else. As an assistant coach, you can hone in on certain aspects of the game. Whereas a head coach, there's so many different things in your head, and she's got to figure out how to separate those.
Does it seem like she's really, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it looks like she's been really reliant on, Coach Stamp,
Mm-hmm.
and then, and now I'm Randy Henderson, right? Peterson? Which one is her maiden name?
Yeah, I don't know.
Henderson, I believe, is her married name. It appears to me at watching the games that there's a lot of those seem to be her 2 go-to coaches. So, Peter, anything else? I appreciate your good questions.
Yeah. Well, that kind of leads into my next question a little bit. I won't keep you guys too much longer. But basically, seeing this team, I feel like, the team is really close to getting over the hump, as I've seen some of the comments say. Like the losses, the last 5 losses have been, by less than double digits, and a lot of issues have been stemming from turnovers and from free throws, right? And so I feel like, the team is probably a little bit better than the record would indicate. So I guess my thought is, how much is losing Caitlin's leadership factoring into this? Because I know 100%. That from some of the stuff we heard in the last couple of years that Caitlin would get on people a little bit if they were underperforming or just try to be that like central leadership position. And I don't know necessarily who that person would be this year on the team. Is there somebody on the team this year who you think probably has assumed that central leadership role? Is there multiple people, or is it kind of more amorphous? Is there not really like a good leadership role, and how does that affect the team going forward, with having such a young squad, and as the losses that we've seen could actually be attributed to a little bit of an underwhelming leadership throughout the team. Yeah.
Kachine?
I would say it's a direct reflection of why we are struggling. That's 100% the reason why we're struggling. I don't think anybody has assumed leadership, honestly speaking. So that's why we've been struggling.
So tonight doesn't change that. One game
absolutely
doesn't
not.
How you feel about the leadership thing?
There's no leadership when you're winning and the basket is as big as the ocean, the Gulf of America. Like at this point, doesn't even matter. Like you don't need to lead because everything is going in, everything is going perfect. Leadership happens when things are going wrong. That's when leadership truly is needed. So I'll answer that when we're not shooting 70% or when we're up and then we start to lose it. I'll answer that then.
So is there a way to be able to perform at a high level
without it?
Leadership? Like
no.
Yeah, without it.
No.
Not consistently.
Nope.
Okay. So basically, somebody is going to have to step up in the coming months, the rest of the season, in order to provide a consistent basis for the team to work with.
Yes, sir.
Peter,
cool.
Appreciate you calling in, sir. And please
call in again, Peter. Great job.
Great questions.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, I've been watching the show for a couple of years. I actually, I'm part of the band at Iowa, so I got to travel the last 2 years with the team, and I would always get back to the hotel room after the team. Like I remember, in Seattle and Dallas and everything, I'd get back to the hotel room and I'd watch you guys' show, falling asleep after the game. So got great memories of the show.
Well, appreciate
thank you for all you do. We love the band.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for all you guys do. I'll continue to watch and have a great night. Don't get to bed too late.
Have a good night, Peter. Thank you for the call, sir.
Continue to watch it.
Good stuff. Always enjoy hearing from somebody in the band. That's great. All right, we've got a number of people here.
Rapid fire.
What's that?
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Yeah. Hey, how about Rhonda real quick? Thanks for your game opinions. Love watching y'all. I haven't seen her name before. At least I don't recall. Thank you, Rhonda. And Uno says, come on, Cash.
Listen, call it like I see it, Uno.
I don't even know when that was said, but
I do.
Is Carrie saying that Washington, their defense was really that bad? Is that the comment?
That's what she's saying.
All right. Linda wants to know why Kylie isn't seeing more usage. She says great movement from her. Seemed like they did really well when she was in the game. AMTG Media says, how is Kylie only playing 19 minutes? She's so happy. She does the little unseen things like Sydney. Methinks Jensen is drinking the Aaliyah Kool-Aid. Aaliyah moves once and asks for the ball. And Kylie is a better ball handler under pressure than Aaliyah. She panics a little, which makes sense since she's a freshman. Your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I got to go to sleep. AMTG Media, it's time for you to take a nap. Because there's no way you think that. It's not possible.
Kylie was better tonight with she made the makeables. She put herself in good positions, and I think she's a heads-up player on defense. We've talked about that. She's really good at drawing charges. She made a lot of most of her shots. I mean, what were her final numbers? 6 of 8, 12 points. She didn't launch a bunch of threes. She didn't launch any threes, I don't think, right? That's probably a good thing because she's not shooting the three ball well. She shot 1 3 and missed it. So, hey, I like that version of Kylie. She still turns the ball over too much. She drives into traffic.
I was trying to figure out where he was going with the whole Aaliyah versus Kylie being about in what world?
She drives the ball too much, and she travels, and she throws the ball away. Hey, Taylor Strimlow does the same thing. Now, the difference is Taylor is a true freshman who's learning. So my leash is a little longer with someone like Taylor. Kylie's been in college for...
Kylie shouldn't be making those same mistakes. She should not be making the mistakes as a senior. It's not... No, absolutely not.
And for the record,
5 turnovers herself today.
Aaliyah only played 15 and a half minutes.
How many turnovers Kylie had?
I thought the same thing. This says only... Does the official box score says 3?
Oh, they lied. No, she traveled twice. She gave up the ball right in front of...
This says Taylor had 5, and it says, let's see, official box score says Mulaney had 4. I believe that. I do believe, and Mulaney's were not.
Yeah, she was horrific when it came to turnovers.
Yeah, she struggled. Yeah. Okay, let's go to our call-in line. We've got Brian. Brian is with us. Brian, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great.
All right.
So, Kachine, have you found your Hawkeye snuggie yet?
No.
Sorry. I'm the one that asked you about that.
Oh, yeah, no.
I got a question for you, Brian. Are you getting ready to arrest somebody?
No, I just got off of work.
All right.
Well,
we'll take it easy.
We got police protecting us here on this podcast, Corey.
Well, my first question is, what adjustments was this team more focused and more prepared tonight, or was it just a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both. And like I said earlier, Brian, sometimes those shots go in early, and when the shots go in early, the basket gets a lot bigger, your eyes get a lot bigger, and I do think Iowa was just smarter with their shots. They weren't jacking a bunch of threes. We didn't see Kylie jacking a bunch of threes. Lucy was jacking threes, but it's because they were going in. I thought shot selection was really good tonight. In general, I thought they moved the ball better. I was actually surprised when I saw the final count of 23 turnovers. Again, a lot of those were late, but it felt like after they settled down that first stretch where they did turn the ball over a little bit too much and Washington had that lead, I thought they played clean basketball. They moved the ball well. I still don't like some of Jan's substitution patterns, but they've been close, Brian. I mean, these losses have been close, and sometimes you break through, and when you build a 25-point lead, I mean, it was over in the first half, right? I mean, in general, you're just not going to lose a lead like that. To do it on the road, it's tough, and give them credit.
Exactly. And then the freshmen. I'm very bad at remembering these freshman names except for Aaliyah Guyton. That's the only one I pretty much have studied. But if you could grade like throughout now, from the beginning to now, of what freshman has been standing out the most, and then which freshman do you think that will have more of an impact during their 4 years here at Iowa?
Great question, Brian. I'm gonna let you slide. Have a good night, Brian.
You
Call
too.
again. Keep protecting the streets, buddy. Appreciate it.
We'll
sir.
do that.
Thank you. Good question. So, which freshman has stood out, and then kind of project forward a little bit with the freshman class, Cash? And we actually saw Kylie. We actually saw Callie. We saw Callie a little bit late tonight.
Am I supposed to just say the one person, or is he asking?
Start out. Who stood out the most in the freshman class?
Aaliyah Guyton.
All right.
What was the next one?
The next one is project forward a little bit. So,
as in, who's going to have the better career?
Yeah, who's going to have the better career? Who has the most room for improvement, etc., and who has the most potential?
Can I have a tie?
Sure.
Aaliyah and Ava.
Really, Aaliyah and Ava. Taylor's not in.
Ava. Here's why. Ava has a very high motor.
Okay.
So if she can just slow down, which I believe that's every freshman, like that's not a thing. That's every freshman. When she figures it out, she's going to be very hard to guard because her motor is so high. We always talk about Addie and what's the one thing? Her motor is not high. Like she usually, when earlier in her career, she would give up position early. She just wouldn't have a fight in her. Ava has fight in her. So if you already have that, she's gonna get there. I love that for her. And then we already know about Aaliyah. So yeah.
So what is Taylor Stremlow's potential?
Y'all said who had the most. You ain't saying who.
Now I'm asking you, what is her potential? Can she become an offensive-minded player, or is she just always going to be a scrappy, above-average rebounder for her size? I mean, she's obviously a good passer. She just makes bad decisions right now.
I think Taylor Stremlow needs to, if she's going to do it, it's going to have to be like and I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, but it's going to have to be like a me. Meaning like she has to be able to shoot enough for people to respect it, and she needs to be a very good driver. She's stocky enough. She's strong enough. Like that's where I feel like she would be beneficial because she can rebound, she can get in there, she can mix it up with people, but she doesn't really have an outside shot like that. She's not really looking to really do anything. I feel like that is probably what her next transition would be. I still think that she has a lot of potential by all means. I'm not knocking Taylor at all. I just feel like Ava and Aaliyah have the higher ones.
Can I give you a hot take?
Sure. You love Taylor Stremlow, so go ahead.
I think she's got a lot of potential. I love her ability to rebound at her size. I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
She is a very good passer.
I agree.
Don't let the turnovers.
No, I what she's looking at, yes. Things the gaps close a lot quicker in college. So that she'll get there. She'll
get there, and she's gonna make some plays that she's gonna make some ooh-ah plays in her career.
Mm-hmm.
Without question. She already has, but those are, she's going to cut down on the turnovers. I believe that. And you mentioned her leadership on a previous show.
Mm-hmm.
she's gritty, she's tough, and I think she's got a potential of being maybe more of that vocal leader that this needs moving forward. Maybe not this year, but after Hannah leaves, after a Falter leaves, etc. My hot take is this: I think O'Grady is a better option at the 5 than Hannah Stolke in some cases. I think especially when teams slow Iowa down in the half court, I think I would much rather see Addison O'Grady log the heaviest of minutes at the 5 than Hannah Stolke. And some people aren't going to like that take, but I don't know what Hannah Stolke gives you in the paint. What does Hannah Stolke give you in the half court that Addison O'Grady does not? Answer that question, Cash.
Athleticism.
Okay, and that what's
rebounds?
Okay, she is a better rebounder. She's a better rebounder, but she can't shoot. She can't even shoot a mid range, and Addison O'Grady does that. O'Grady's better with her back to the basket. I think
you know what you're saying, though, right?
What am I saying?
That means you're saying that Hannah is going to play less than 20 minutes a game.
I'm saying for certain matchups. And
I know what you're saying, but I'm telling you, you're saying that Hannah is going to play less than 20 minutes a game.
I mean, they won by 30.
We're going to be able to win like that?
They won by 30 tonight or whatever.
Yeah, that's because we shot 8 for 8 from the 3-point line.
I understand. However, they're going to win a lot of games holding teams to 61. They held Oregon to 50.
I don't agree with that take, but
you don't agree with the take? Is that what you said? Well,
Addie is like this all the time. So now, mind you, I knew within the first up and down, I was like, oh hell. I was like, this is an Addie game. I knew immediately. the first in the game today, the first up and down, I knew that this was going to be an Addison O'Grady game. I literally wrote and tweeted, give the ball to Addison. That's the mismatch. Very simple. So I'm understanding that, but now you have to pick and choose because, like we all have said multiple times, Hannah cannot play the 4. So what does that mean?
It means maybe she's coming off the bench. I so say it's a hot take. People aren't going to like that. That's fine. And I know everybody loves the flashy. There's no question. Hannah is flashier than Addison. Who's better with their back to the basket? Who's a better finisher around the rim? It's not Hannah Stolke.
Okay, let's call it what it is, right? The only reason why Addison was doing well is because she was burying them. And they decided, remember what I said before, right? When Addison started out the way she started, everybody was like, oh my God, Addie. And I said, what did I say? When people actually start playing her, she's going to be non-effective. I said that. What happened?
No. Let's go back to the Drake game. They were fronting her all game.
Listen to what I'm saying.
I was throwing over the top. They were not fronting her at all today.
But I said, when people figure out Addie, they are going to do what? And I said she's going to become non-effective. And what happened? She went missing for games because of that. This team, you could tell right off the bat, I was like, oh, hell. No matter what they do, technically speaking, it's going to be an issue. Now, again, Addie becomes irrelevant if we're not shooting well because now they can just double her and it doesn't matter what she does down there. So it's a two-way thing. The only thing I'm saying is if you come across a team, which majority of the teams we're going to come across that are not going to be undersized like Washington was, you're going to need Hannah over Addie.
I agree with that. And I mean, it makes something very clear. I'm not saying that O'Grady should be the cemented starter at the 5. I'm just saying certain situations. I think Addison O'Grady deserves maybe more minutes than Hannah Stolke.
How many rebounds did Addison have today?
Well, it's on the screen. 4. She doesn't rebound the ball well. She doesn't rebound the ball well.
What you doing for me? I'm just wondering.
Well, we know.
You're not doing it. It's great because we shot 72%. But when we don't shoot that and we shoot 30%, she is not going to help me because she's not giving me extra possessions. She's not doing anything of the sort. Addie got destroyed against Audie Crooks, and I can name so many other post players that she got destroyed against.
Great example. That's a great example, though. That's a great example, Kachine, where the matchup favors favors Hannah.
Yeah, but it shouldn't.
Oh, well, what it is. I know. What I'm saying is we've gotten to you and I have accepted the fact that Addison is what she is. So utilize her strengths and utilize her.
I will say that you can utilize her strengths, but I do not think that she needs to start over Hannah. I think that's great.
No, and I'm not saying she needs to start. I'm saying for certain games, starter minutes, maybe in some games she does start. I don't know that works. I don't think most coaches like going game to game with different starters based on matchups. Is that fair, Kachine? If you're going to make substitution changes, it's going to be during the flow of the game. And, we saw Kylie pulled really early today.
And I was happy about it.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't know that was premeditated, orchestrated, but we saw that happen. Now she played later as the game went on. And for the record, Addison O'Grady's averaging 12.3 points per game, 5 rebounds. She's shooting 67% from the floor. And Hannah Stolke is averaging 12.9 points, 8.2 rebounds. She's a much better rebounder, 48% from the field. But keep in mind, she's also 48% from the field. Let me just make something very clear. You and I both know this. 48% from the field. She doesn't take jump shots.
Yeah.
So she's 48% from the field on the same shots that Addison's taking. That's my point.
You're not shifting me from this, by the way. But
no,
I hear you.
I'm just
I think Addison at some point
around the rim without question.
I mean, Hannah's going to play the 4 at some point. Like you got to have. We can't play Tegan. Sorry, it's not happening. So if Sydney gets into something, or maybe Sydney, like she's gonna have to play the 4. So I'm not. There's not gonna just be a 5. Either it's Hannah or Addie. That's not gonna be the case. We're gonna have to play Hannah at the 4 at some point.
Let's agree on something. We can both agree that both have strengths, both have weaknesses, and so we can both agree that they do not have a complete post player right now. They don't. No. They do not have a Monica Sonano, a Megan Gustafson.
No.
They do not have that. They have Hannah Stolke, who's an above-average defender and rebounder, but is right now, I'd say, below average offensively as a whole. I mean, I don't think she's that good inside. She can't shoot from the mid-range, and she certainly can't shoot from 3, whereas Addison O'Grady is good in spots from the inside, very dependable around the rim, but is below average rebounder and is very situational for defensive match purposes. Is that fair?
That's fair.
All right.
Next caller.
Let's go to our next caller. We got Corey here with us. Your favorite caller, Kachine. Corey is going to be brief. He's going to be concise because he loves the fact that night is for.
And it's midnight.
Corey, welcome.
Guys, Cash, Corey, I love your little couples quarrel feud going on here tonight. It's got some good, honest vibes to it. First off, Cash, thanks for putting Corey in check. He was being a bit of a homer with over celebrating this victory. So I appreciate you putting him in check. And we had to get to the point where actually we had to call security. And security stepped in.
Sure did.
So thank you for taking control, Cash.
No problem.
Of that.
I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I don't want to get anybody felony counts, but is he security? Is he law enforcement?
Corey.
Very big divide. Anyways, go ahead, Corey.
Corey needs all the time he could get. So I need you to hold on to me. Go ahead, Corey.
I'll mute myself, Corey. It's all you.
So here's my take. Here's my algorithm. I have an Addy algorithm for Jan Jensen. Since Coach Don isn't here to create the algorithm, I will. If we play a center that's between 6'1" and 6'4", Addie O'Grady is getting more minutes. If we play a center, I'm gonna let Cash check me after I'm done here with this comment. So 6'1" to 6'4", Addie gets the minutes. And I just want to comment, have you noticed her little hook she's got going that doesn't get blocked?
Do we consider that a hook? Because that's not really a hook shot.
Well, it's a little something. It's not, because Hannah would get blocked every time on these same types of shots. Now, if they're 6'4" or above, then you might as well just play Hannah and out athletic them with speed, because Addie gets dominated by anyone her same size.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think this comment in the chat is perfect. Chev Yoda says O'Grady is matchup dependent. Agree, but I also think to an extent Hannah is matchup dependent. That's why I say they're both limited. They're both very limited, regardless of upside of Hannah and, you know, expectations not fulfilled with Addison O'Grady. They're both limited. That's why I think you could see some games when Hannah's back healthy that each of them play more minutes.
But I think too, the offense isn't really utilizing Hannah's strengths. And it's like, if they could bring her out to the free throw line, get her the ball and let her drive it on a big, and put them in an awkward situation where they can't guard her on a drive, then she's at her strengths, which is speed. And, you know, so I guess my take is that this was the perfect game for Addie, and she performed flawlessly. Nobody could have performed better than her tonight. And I also have frustrations with Tegan. Tegan is a turnover machine.
Who's last round
She
play?
is frustrating me to no end. And I don't mean to hate on her. She's a freshman, but it's just really getting on my nerves because she's a liability out there
That's
in
why
these
she don't play.
games. What was that, Cash?
That's why she doesn't play.
Okay. So, but anyway, did you, Cash, this is my question. Didn't you notice far more cutting tonight of the guards, and really everybody cutting to the hole and getting the bounce pass from Addie O'Grady? But everybody was cutting. There was so much more movement tonight.
I think you have the wrong word. There was more spacing. We always cut. We just ran into each other.
Okay. So we're starting out.
We were spaced out, so the cuts were actually effective.
By the way, Corey, Erica says, holy cow, caller Corey is saying host Corey is a homer. That's rich. I love it. If anybody's watched Corey on the football shows, great. Go ahead, Corey. I'll mute myself.
That was going to be my next comment, is that I was taking off my missing persons on Lemansky, and I was going to put it back on Erica, because I haven't been watching the chat tonight.
Erica always in the chat. She there, trust me.
But like not last night, and maybe not a previous show. So I was getting a little bit concerned that she turncoated on us and went to the voice of college football, Mark Rogers.
She's over there too, as you know, Corey.
I think she's kind of.
Hey, do you call Mark's show? Just curious. Do you call Mark's show? You need to call Mark's show. I want to see what he'll do with you. I want to see what he does with you over there.
He would stomp me. He would stomp me. Now, Mark is too early. I'm working. It's upsetting that. I mean, I've texted in. If I take a little tea break, and get my sweet cinnamon tea that my wife buys me, and I drink in the afternoon, then I'll shoot a quick text into the show. But I'm working, so. You guys do that show too early, especially for East Coasters.
You're talking about Mark and I's show. I thought you were just talking about Mark's shows in general, because he's constantly live. So.
Oh yeah. No, but anyway, last question, Cash. Can one game restore a shooter's confidence? Would you look at Lucy? And you look at her from the 3-point line, from the field on her mid range, and from three, and you look at whether it's even really, really everybody in
To
general.
answer your question, yes.
You think one game can
Hmm?
restore the conf?
Heck,
So
1/2 can, technically speaking, if you're that kind of shooter.
So is Lucy that kind of shooter? Because she's been
I
so.
think that because she's a positive person by nature, seeing the ball go through the hoop and shooting so efficiently as she did, I think that is a big thing for her.
I agree. My only hesitancy on this, Corey, I think the world of Lucy Olson. I just, I think she's a phenomenal person, phenomenal player. I'm so happy that they got her out of the portal. But I will say this. The one thing I've noticed with Lucy, and this is just me maybe reading into things a little bit, and one, well, actually two. I've asked her this question a couple of times, one at Media Day, one when we were up in Sioux Falls. And I've asked her about her 3-point shooting specifically. And I get that sense, like Kachine talked about her positivity. I get the sense from Lucy that she's also hard on herself in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can be detrimental to a player's confidence. If you're beating yourself up over misses, one thing that great shooters do is they flush misses, right?
Yeah,
and I don't short memory, exactly. And I don't know how short of a memory Lucy has. We'll see. I mean, we'll see, because she scored a lot of points at Villanova. We know this is a different level of basketball in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the one real kind of, she started up here, then dipped, and then now, okay, maybe we're starting that ascent. Can she continue that? I'll be curious, especially from three, because this was an unbelievably unbelievable outlier as it relates to her 3-point shooting, because she's been struggling from behind the arc all year, and she struggled last year from three.
And I just want to stuff this last question in, and you're going to laugh at me, but that's fine, because I've been laughed at more than once in my life. Is there a chance that Jada Jumphy
No, Corey.
comes in and plays the 4 to an effective level? I mean, why do you laugh? She's got a body. She's strong. She's
None
not.
of that matters.
She's
But
not
I'm laughing
feeble.
because maybe Jada Jumphy might actually, because we don't have one of them on the team. But
Wait. Can I just ask a question real quick? And I don't mean this is. Don't take this weird, Corey. When you say she has a body, what are you talking about?
She's got strength, size.
Based on, can I ask, what are you seeing? That, like, what does she have physically that Tegan
she
doesn't
is
have?
built to have a good 4 body, meaning like she has enough size. She's not going to get pushed around.
Okay.
She's got kind of that like slender, but yet kind of, I don't know the right word. It's exactly
she can hold ground.
And Tegan does not have that?
No.
Tegan's okay.
But just
it is taller than Tegan.
Not by much. Not by much.
Oh, I think she is by an inch.
I'm gonna look this up. Jada Jimpy is listed at let's see, Iowa has her at 6. No, she's not.
But anyways, the whole purpose of, regardless of whatever, I was only saying the whole thing. No, she cannot.
Tegan, they're both 6'1", by the way.
I mean, she's got natural feel for the. She's got decent fundamentals. I don't know. You say no.
I have not seen anything that to suggest otherwise.
What year is she? Junior? She a junior?
You talking about
she's the same as Hannah, isn't she?
Jada.
They came in together.
Yeah, she's a junior.
She's a junior.
I have not seen anything that gave me indications. I've not seen anything that give me an indication that Jade is close to breaking through.
Cash, have you ever seen a player? Have you ever played with a player or seen a player similar to Jada that kind of broke through late like that? That, maybe the latter half of this season or next year.
Next year, through. Maybe.
Okay. She's got a decent shot. She's got a decent fundamentals. I don't understand decent size. I just feel like
There's a lot more to playing basketball than that, right?
Yeah, and you know what? When she has seen extended time, she can't make shots. She can't shoot.
I will contest that I think she'd turn it over less than Tegan does right now.
The problem is, Corey, Tegan's a freshman with a lot of time to grow. Jada's a junior with not nearly as much time to grow. So I think that's part of it, regardless of recruiting rankings out of high school. They were both 4-star recruits out of high school, but
I don't know. I don't like to just give up on people either. I think that, Jada's been there for a couple of years. That could be to her benefit. She could.
Hey, Corey, guess what? You have way more practices than you do at games. So that's where you show that you could actually play. And clearly, for the 3 years that she's been there, she hasn't showed enough in all of those practices to then play in the game. So It's not that you're giving up on her. She's just not giving you what you need to play.
Yeah.
That's it. And she might have grown in those 3 years, just not enough to actually beat somebody.
Well, it was. I'll just comment and let you go. But it was just great to see a get right game here. Aaliyah Guyton's didn't have a huge game. Well, she didn't need to get right. She's good in a good place. You got Lucy getting right. The other thing I'll comment on is Sid Falter. Ever since the comment was made by Coach Jan that Aaliyah Guyton has been kind of the leader and, kind of challenged the seniors. I think Sid's starting to drive the bucket more, be a little more aggressive in the last 3 games. I think it's trending in the right direction. I mean, we got a ways to go here, but it's and my last take is I would like to think that Taylor Stremlow becomes like a higher level Sydney Falter of last year when Sydney was peaking. That's what I see for her. So she's definitely got to get a shot. She's got to have some certain go-to shots, and she's got to be able to drive the ball. But Tegan, to me, it feels like she's in her sophomore slump now. She started off great first couple games, and now she's like in her sophomore slump. That said, go Hawks. What a great get-right game. Thanks for the show. And you guys got the memo. You guys got the memo on the hat. I love it.
Appreciate it, Corey. Have a great night.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Good stuff. And Sheila with the super chat. Thank you, Sheila. Thanks, y'all. Arkansas Hawk fan. Thank you for being here. Sheila
figured out how to write in the thingy. Remember the last time she left super chats, but there wasn't anything in the, what you call it?
Good for Sheila.
Nice to see you, Sheila.
Appreciate that, Sheila. And Bobby says, Cash, does this performance strengthen your stance that Hannah and Addie should not be on the floor together?
Yes. That stays the same.
Okay. Brandon says, you are not seeing the big picture on how our losses have been. Might I remind you, Brandon, this is, I think, in response to me. It's response to me earlier because I was talking about how they could lose to Northwestern, yada, yada, yada.
Yes, they could.
Let's be very clear on this, Brandon. And I know you know this, but let's just remind everybody, just like when the men went to California and lost by 30, as horrific as those games were, they were individual losses. They counted as one loss each. This was a dominant spanking. It counts as one win. The 1-point loss against Oregon counted as one loss. So my point is, regardless of how close these games have been, and I think it's great, Jan's been preaching that and keeping her girls locked in, her ladies locked in. That's great. Let's just remember those are still losses. They count the same on the schedule. And so if they play Northwestern close and lose by 1 Tuesday, it won't matter. They got to win. And they should win dominant. I mean, Northwestern's not a good team. They've pushed some teams, but they're not a good team. Vincent says, is there a player among the freshmen that is showing signs of life and developing into a Caitlin-esque leader we are looking for? Caitlin-esque? That's a big comp.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, Tyler.
Peace, love, Jen. I completely agree with Kachine. Aaliyah is the most standout freshman. Ava has a high ceiling. We're starting to see her potential, but her growth will happen following this year.
Agreed. Peace, love, Jen.
And Bobby Nielsen reminding everybody, over 400 watching, hit the like button if we can't get to 100 likes. How sad that is. We've actually got a little over 300, and we've got our final caller here of the night. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander, who's on the line.
Nomansky, you dynamic duo.
Hey, Lomansky, how you doing, sir?
Well, you are holding your own. You're boxing out comment-wise. You're debating at a high level. And just, I think you're damn near brilliant. I want to watch. Corey, you want to watch.
What are you asking me?
Do you own a watch?
Do I own a watch?
Do you keep track of what time it is?
I don't have a watch on, if that's what you're asking me.
Maybe so.
Do I
got cash? Go ahead.
No, do I own watches? I don't have a watch on.
Well, that's exactly what I thought, because I've talked about Ava and I've talked about Aaliyah. And even though you're holding your own tonight, do you pay cash overtime after midnight, for God's sake, Corey?
It says 11:23 p.m. on my clock here. Oh, man. What's it say on yours? What's it say on yours, Lomansky?
Wish I was around Ames. I'd come over there and I'd knock on your door.
I would be up, sir.
Well,
that's funny, Corey.
There's hotels in Ames, Iowa. Don't be surprised. I knock on your door and I show up right on the show.
Well,
and it'll be you in the middle and Cash on your left and me on the right.
We might have to call our police caller, security caller that we had earlier on the show if that happens, Lomansky.
I'm pulling your chain. I've got an analogy here, and you can both comment on this. But I had nieces that were interested in basketball, and they loved Reggie Miller of the Indiana Pacers. So I took them up to a T-Wolves game. I bought them high-priced seats in the front row, and it kind of broke my budget. And I sat like the worst seat up at that stadium, and we were supposed to switch at halftime, and they wouldn't switch because they're having a thrill because Reggie Miller dived on the court and sweat splattered on these girls, and they were like in hog heaven. Then they forgot where we parked. But in that game, Kevin Garnett played in that game. And I squatted down by my niece so I could see Kevin Garnett. I've never seen such a range of a player, square footage in basketball game in my life. I learned what territory covered is. And I said earlier, I couldn't even get a hot take in tonight because Cash beat me to Ava Hayden again. Getting frustrated because you wouldn't pick up the phone, Corey. So she beat me to Ava's hot take. But I mentioned about Ava Hayden long ago, and the range that she has square footage-wise on the court, just what she covers with her quickness and her footwork. Don't look at the box score, Hawk fans. Look outside of box scores. Ava's range defensively, her quickness, her footwork, Ava's coming. And I think her influence might be felt this year. And even though we didn't have Hannah, go back and watch that game and the non-stats that Ava Hayden, I was so impressed with Ava Hayden, I would have gave her player of the game just because, man, she's coming, man. And you can comment on my comments about Ava and Cash. I hope you comment on it's after midnight and you don't get overtime, or we should comment on those two things.
Lomansky, appreciate your call, sir. Always enjoy hearing from you.
You're welcome. Two things.
Cash, your thoughts?
Cyhawk C Money said we operate on cash time. So
we operate on cash time.
At this point, that answers the first question. The second question, well, actually, technically the first question. I'm up at midnight because I love my Hawk fans. I fell in love with Hawk fans before I committed. So
as a Minnesota Gopher growing up, right? As
a Minnesota Gopher growing up, y'all turned me into black and gold. So here we are, bleeding black and gold years later. The second one, I listen. Just if you could wrap up Ava in like one play. It sounds crazy, but you guys remember the play? She came over and she was like behind the girl. I don't know how she blocked it. It doesn't even matter. She's long. She blocked it. It's like a tussle on the floor. I don't even know how she ended up back on the floor. Like that in itself talks about how high her motor is. bigs like that normally don't get on the floor like that. They don't have the quickness to or the wherewithal to realize what's happening to then get on the floor and be a part of it again. That doesn't happen. Ava, it's a natural instinct with her. And when you have a post player who has a natural instinct like that, all you need is for her to slow down in her post moves and how she sees the game. And she is going to be dangerous because she is going to outwork everybody. And that is something that is dangerous for a post player. You don't even have to be that great of a post player. If you outwork everybody, you're going to win just because of that. But now you add some skill in there, and then you got a serious player on your hands. So I've been slowly watching Ava every time she gets in, things like that. And today I got a bigger glimpse because this is probably the most she's played, especially in these two games. And I just keep seeing it over and over and over. And she is going to be very, very good. Like, she is going to be very good.
I will say the one thing that I was critical of early with Jan Jensen today, and I've seen this has been a pattern, is pulling Addison when she's rolling.
I ain't like that either. I ain't like that.
So we can agree on that.
Yeah, like if a player just hit 2 or 3 buckets straight, do not take them out.
Exactly.
Let them, fizzle out. You know what I'm saying?
Trying to keep everybody fresh, but it doesn't allow anybody to maintain. Some people get rhythm in different ways. Even players like Addison, who hit 2 or 3 and she's got a rhythm, you totally disrupt that when you pull her. I'm trying to think. Like, I think somebody said on X when I tweeted something out about it. They said, "Well, Addison's getting gassed. She gets gassed when they play fast." And I'm like, okay. Huh?
Hey, when the ball is going in, you ain't tired. Trust me.
Well, and here's the thing: she's a senior. If she still can't make it more, like I don't know. I have to go back and look at the Peacock tape, but there literally was in the very first quarter of this game, Ava trots out to be subbed in, and I swear she got up off the bench after 3 straight shots from from Addie that went down, and it was at like the 6-minute mark, 6.5-minute mark. Like, it was in the first 3 to 4 minutes of the game.
Correct.
Is Addie literally that?
She ain't tired. No. She wasn't tired. I know when a player is tired. She wasn't tired. That's
what I'm saying. I think that's one of Jan's biggest hurdles to overcome as a head coach is learning substitution patterns and how much is too much and how much
of the game.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not just it's coming up. Okay, let me put them in. Like, learning the flow of the game, figuring out what it was. Kind of like the other game at home, Nebraska, when I said with Aaliyah Guyton, I think it was third or fourth quarter. And in my mind, I'm like, you got to take Aaliyah out now because she's not going to last the rest of the quarter. But now you're into the taking her out. Played her the whole quarter, and now it's 3 minutes, and she's gassed. Well, now you can't put her back in. Because by the time things happen, the quarter's over. Like, you have to understand the flow of the game and understand everything. Even if you would have waited to the 5-minute mark, you could have put Ava in for about 2 minutes or something of the sort, and then go. After the 5-minute mark, you're stuck. I tell that with everybody. After the 5-minute mark, you're pretty stuck, depending on the situation. Because I'm not gonna say nobody. That's rude. Because there's lots of people who play 40 minutes a game. But for the most part, you're stuck. So I always say around that 5-minute mark, you need to start evaluating who you want to end this quarter.
Yeah. Or
how you want to do that. But in Addison's case, she was boom, 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 bucket after bucket. Now we're going to ride you to at least 5 minutes. Then we're going to take you out for like a minute and a half, and I'm going to throw you back in there.
Yeah.
But
it almost makes me think she's almost relying on. Huh?
Pre-planning.
That I was going to say is that it's all scripted. Like, this is when these players come in today, and
except for the Taylor thing, that was weird. But that what do you think that was scripted to put Taylor Strimlow in within like?
Oh yeah, that's
that was scripted.
I'd have to go back and look because did she pick up a foul, turn the ball over real early? I think in like the first.
Maybe that was an odd substitution. I was like.
It was real quick. Yes.
What? So, but I mean, I wasn't mad at it by all means, but I just that was weird.
There was also a moment where Taylor McCabe had made a couple of threes and then she got yanked. And I'm like, come on here. What are we doing? Let's go off script a little bit. Anyways, Hey, best compliment we could have ever received from David tonight. He says, as tired as I am, I'm finding it very difficult to leave your show.
Yes, David.
David. And folks, the Hawkeye women defeating Washington tonight. What a turnaround against Oregon the other night. Just a couple of days ago, Iowa shoots 37% from the field, 32% from three. They basically double those numbers tonight. 72% from the field, 69% from three. They score 85, which is almost double their 49 that they scored the other night against Oregon. Amazing turnaround there. The Hawks, in spite of 23 turnovers, win going away, and it wasn't even as close as the final score would indicate. Iowa 85 and the Washington Huskies 61. Big win out west, much needed. And we'll see. This next game against Northwestern, it's a must win. It's against a team that is 100% beatable. Iowa, this is a quad 4 game, so you don't really get much value in winning it other than it's another conference win, and you're avoiding a bad loss. That game will be on Tuesday. The Hawkeyes will get a break here as they head back home following the trip out west. They'll play Northwestern Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Time, Big Ten Network. And as always, you can rely on From the Hawkeye of the Storm for live post-game coverage following the game. Kachine, it's late. Get some sleep, and we'll talk to you in a little less than a week.
Woo.
Folks, for Kachine Alexander, I'm Corey Brada. Have a great night. We'll talk to you next time.